I'd go if I could go anywhere, wherever it is I'm really from, and wherever I had a life before the TVA came along. That's what I'd like to do. Just riding around on my jet ski.
Prune him.
What happened? Am I dead? Oh, whoa. I'm not dead. I'm in heaven. Wow.
Hey guys, thanks so much for clicking on this video. My name is Chris. Loki episode 4 has landed online. Man, what a fantastic freaking episode. I know some people were feeling off with the slower paced episode last week that I didn't mind. But now with episode 4 of Loki, this has been one of the last 3 episodes we get. I was hoping for things to ramp up and man, did they deliver. So what I'm going to be doing here for you guys is giving you my Loki episode 4 breakdown, pointing out Easter eggs you might have missed, talking about that post-credit / end credit scene, what it could mean for future episodes, the repercussions that this show could have with future Marvel movies, anything and everything. Be sure to leave me your thoughts with episode 4 of Loki. So far, I think this is actually my favorite episode, so I'm curious to see if other people feel the same way, and did you like some of the twists and reveals they had here? Alright, so with episode 4 of Loki, it opens up with Asgard. However, it's not the Asgard that we know from our Loki, played by Tom Hiddleston. This is the Asgard where the character of Sylvie is from, and she's just playing with some toys when the TVA decide to show up and cancel playtime. From here, they mark that she caused a Nexus event, take her away, and reset her timeline. Right before they go ahead and reset it, though, we do get a close-up of some of her toys, and one I'd like to point out is this one, which is probably a nod to one of Loki's offspring in Norse mythology, and that is Fenrir. Hopefully I pronounced that right. But from this opening, we get an idea of how long Sylvie has been fighting the TVA, and that is as a child, about to be persecuted for her crimes of breaking the timeline somehow, coming in contact with Ravonna Rainslayer back when she was a regular TVA agent instead of being promoted to the spot she is today, getting away with it, forcing her to be on the run until we meet her again in Loki episode 1. But before the Loki title card comes up, they give us our first look at the Timekeepers. And this right here is why I want to say that I think Loki has been such a much better paced show. I know we were talking about last week how they slowed things down and they focused on character development, but here they over-delivered by showing us so many reveals that I don't want to make comparisons. I don't want to be that guy that's like, oh man, this is better than Falcon Winter Soldier, this is better than WandaVision. But in terms of pacing and having a mystery at hand, much like WandaVision had, where we were unaware to what was happening, and each episode we were getting little hints to that, I feel with Loki they introduce a mystery and then they answer it almost right away, or at least in the next episode. Where I felt like WandaVision had real faults in saving all the reveals for the final episode and then cramming all of that into one, where I feel like with Loki they're doing a way better job of keeping you invested. We then cut back to Loki and Sylvie on Lamentis. They are sitting down awaiting their fate as this planet is about to implode, and during this heart-to-heart we get a little bit more reveals to the character of Sylvie. We find out she actually is a Loki, but the reason she hates being called a Loki is because of her name. She was made a target by the TVA, where it forced her to be on the run, never having a family, never being able to have anyone, forced to live her entire life through these apocalyptic events just to hide from them. We've even had the actress on Instagram Live mention that she's not going to play the character of Enchantress, that she is a Loki, but it's the MCU's own interpretation of that. But on that same point, they talk about the sacred timeline, and that's another thing that we get revealed here. The idea of there being a sacred timeline is a lie by the TVA. There is no such thing as only one timeline. So back in previous episodes when they were mentioning how the Avengers are supposed to reverse the snap, and that was supposed to happen, but Loki deviating off the timeline was not supposed to happen, is essentially a lie. Of course that didn't happen in the mainstay MCU, but the fact that it did happen does not mean there was some sort of sacred timeline ruin. Instead, what this means is that whoever is in charge of the TVA and controlling these timekeepers, they have their own agenda and they prefer the timeline to stay one way, most likely meeting to their own specific needs, and it looks like Loki being alive in either one of these timelines is a big problem for the person in charge of their sacred timeline, which is why he's going after them. He never needed to go after the main MCU Loki because he would eventually die by the hands of Thanos, but a Loki who deviated off the path like this one with the Time Stone probably lived a full life and eventually messed up whatever plans the person in charge of the TVA has. But speaking of things that are not supposed to happen, the reason they are able to escape the planet of Lamentis is because they cause a Nexus event, and the only explanation I could come to is that Loki was falling in love with Lady Loki, and that has never happened in the past. He's never experienced love, and now having that here, it's such a rare, crazy event for a Loki that it caused a Nexus event. But now having the Nexus event, the TVA was able to locate them, find them, take them away, and hold them prisoner. They are then separated, and Mobius is tasked with the job of interrogating our Loki, but before he does, he wants to break his spirit, putting him into what is a bad memory loop. And to our surprise, we get a cameo from Lady Sif. This is a famous Asgardian character that has been part of the MCU all the way back to the first Thor movie. It's kind of become a fan favorite character amongst Thor fans, and people have been begging to see her back, especially since she was missing in Thor Ragnarok, but she is set to come back for Thor 4, Thor Love and Thunder. Here in this cameo though, it's just a memory that Loki had where he played a prank on Lady Sif by cutting her hair, getting beat up by her, and it just happens to him over and over and over. Not only do I think this is hilarious, but I love the fact that they just brought in Lady Sif, because it's always a pleasure to see her. As Loki's going through that torture, we join back with Mobius here, who is having a conversation with Ravonna Rainslayer, and Mobius is asking the question if he can now interrogate Sylvie, to where she denies that request, and she even informs him that the TVA agent that Sylvie had hostage, C20, is now no longer with them and dead, claiming that she was a lost cause. Her mind was basically pudding. Now we later see in this episode these are obvious lies, and Ravonna Rainslayer is part of whoever these Timekeepers are, but it looks like the main reason she wants to keep Mobius in the dark and away from Sylvie is because she wants the least amount of people to know about the truth of the TVA, that all these agents are variants and members of the timeline that were kidnapped into being part of this organization. And now we know what would happen to most of the TVA if these agents found out about their past lives and had their memories unlocked, because we see here Hunter B-15 struggling with some memories that she has in her mind, thanks to an episode 2 where Lady Loki enchanted her and showed her memories of her past self. I think this is a great showcase of just how shell-shocked the TVA would be if they found out about their past life, because you think of how tough a character like B-15 was, super strict on her job, doing everything by the book, and then through one enchantment, she's completely disconnected from the TVA, is willing to go rogue and fight with these Lokis. And with us now knowing how Mobius is willing to be a little more open-minded, has some free will of thought, he smells that something fishy is going on, he decides to steal the temp pad of Ravonna Rainslayer to try and figure out what really did happen to C20, and if there's any truth to Loki mentioning that the TVA is a lie. And of course, we see the interrogation footage of C20, revealing that she knows about her past life, mentioning her memories, and now understanding that she was actually put down by the TVA because she was a liability to the organization. This was all the proof Mobius needed, decides to go grab Loki so they can figure out what to do next, only to be stopped by Ravonna Rainslayer, and this is where my heart freaking broke in this episode. This man Mobius, who has been working for the TVA for who knows how long, hundreds or thousands of years, to then discover everything is a lie, and even his last words being about jet skis only to be pruned. I audibly yelled in my seat when this happened. I love the character of Mobius. I was so pissed that they killed him off, but thanks to the end credit scene that we'll touch upon in a bit, we know he's not truly dead. At least, we hope not. But after Mobius is pruned away, Loki and Sylvie are then taken face to face with the Timekeepers so that they can witness for themselves that these variants have been put to rest. And again, as a small comment, early on when we were first being introduced to the Timekeepers, I was shocked that they were showing them. I couldn't believe it. I thought this was something that they'd save to the end of the season. Also, love the visual effects that they had on with these Timekeepers, though I hope a lot of y'all were watching this with subtitles, because I felt like they were impossible to understand. But just as it seemed like the Timekeepers were about to do away with these two Lokis, Hunter B-15 comes in to save the day, rescue them, setting them free, allowing themselves to fight back, to of course only let it be revealed they were androids, confirming that the TVA is just built on lies and propaganda. This idea of 3 sacred Timekeepers was never real. I have to imagine there's only one person responsible for the TVA instead of 3 guys. As of right now, only suspects we got is Coiny. But in the midst of this chaos and them still feeling like they're miles away from figuring out what is still happening in the TVA, Loki decides to want to go ahead and confess his his love to Sylvie, only then to be pruned by Ravonna Rainslayer. Again, another jaw-dropping moment, me thinking, wow, so the rest of the season's just gonna be Lady Loki? That's gonna be interesting. But no, if you stuck to the end, you get a post-credit / end credit scene where we reveal where this Loki was pruned to, looking like an apocalyptic area, coming face to face with other Loki variants. Now here, Loki is staring at 4 different variants of himself. One in the classic Loki costume from the comics. I even have a Funko Pop of it right here. Then we have Kid Loki, which again is a character from the comics, which is Loki reborn as a child, but as a boy instead of Lady Loki. Then you even have a Crocodile Loki and one wielding a different version of Mjolnir. Now who knows if this is even a Loki. He does have the necklace. He doesn't have the helmet with the horns on his head. It'd be interesting to find out if this is a Thor variant, or if this Mjolnir he's holding also has the curse of only if you're worthy you can wield it. I think it'd be funny if only you're a Loki you can wield it. That would make some sense here. But a couple of things on this end credit scene. For one, it lets us know that when people get pruned, it doesn't seem like they die entirely. At least it didn't happen for Loki. So there's still a chance we can see my good old boy Mobius out there. I'm hoping he's somewhere in a land of jet skis. But the other thing is that this just continues and supports the theory that whoever is in charge of the TVA created it and has this idea for a sacred timeline. It involves getting rid of as many Lokis from as many realities as possible, and they all seem to be ending up here. It feels like they're at a place where an apocalyptic event happens, so it could be them hiding away right now from the TVA on the sacred timeline. Either way, Loki right now is shaping up to be one of the best Disney Plus series so far. They just seem to bring up mysteries, answering them right away, keeping you intrigued all the way instead of just dangling a carrot. So I gotta throw my hats off to the writer here, because it's the same guy who's going to be writing Doctor Strange 2 Multiverse of Madness. This guy gets it, and I can't wait to see more of this and find out what happens in Loki episode 5. But I'm going to need you guys to give me your opinions down below. What did you think of Loki episode 4? Were you happy with the reveals in here? What are your thoughts, theories, or speculation to what's going on? Any Easter eggs or details I might have missed? Let me know down below. Be sure to like and subscribe. Follow me on Twitter at 3C Film Review. As always, I'm Chris. Take care.